At the start of the movie, we see Miranda, a psychologist who used to cure insane criminals. Now she is in the hospital, where a girl named Chloe was sitting in front of her. She was telling her that a devil ghost often comes at night and does wrong with her, but Miranda does not believe her. That's why Chloe starts getting angry at her. Seeing this, the police and the doctor lock Chloe in her cell. After this, Miranda goes to her boss and says, "Nothing can happen to Chloe. We cannot treat her because she keeps saying the same thing again and again. I have been watching her case for a long time, but the case does not go ahead because she does not try to understand anything." Miranda's boss, who is also her husband, says Chloe sees this world from a different perspective, so we have to do something different. Then another doctor named Pete comes, and he came to call them to go to another meeting. It was raining heavily outside, but then Pete comes, who takes Miranda to the umbrella and drops her to her car. Here we find out that Pete liked Miranda. Well, now she was going home alone. The rain was also heavy, and it was night. Now the way Miranda was going, the police are standing there because there was a huge pit. That's why the police say, "Madam, you go from another way. There may be danger here." Miranda starts going from another way that was from the middle of the forest, but as she crosses a bridge, she sees a girl standing in front of her to save her. Miranda turns her car all of a sudden. Then she gets out of the car, and when she comes to see that girl, she notices a deep wound on her chest from which blood is oozing. When Miranda asks that girl, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" She wanted to help her, but then that girl and Miranda's body caught fire, and the scene cuts here. Now we see Miranda in the next scene, who wakes up from sleep. She was locked in her asylum hospital like a mad patient. She gets scared to see this. She screams, and that's why the hospital staff comes and controls her. And now Dr. Pete talks to her. Pete says, "Miranda, you have been locked up here for 3 days. What happened to you last time? Do you remember anything?" Miranda says, "I know when I was going home at night. A girl came in front of my car whom I wanted to help, but suddenly there was fire. That's all I remember." Dr. Pete says, "No, Miranda, nothing like that happened. Your husband has been murdered and you have killed him. So you are locked up here." Hearing this, Miranda had gone crazy. She says to Pete, "No, it's not like that. You are lying." And she also tries to beat him. That's when the hospital staff comes and controls her. After a while, Miranda was among those patients whom she used to treat before. Chloe comes to her and sits there and says, "You will understand my condition now. This is what happens when people do not believe you, as it is happening to you today." Saying this, she was leaving, but on the way, she gives a newspaper to Miranda, in which it was written about the murder of Miranda's husband, and his culprit was Miranda. On the same night, Miranda feels that there is someone outside her cell. That's why it is written in the fog on the door, "Not alone." Seeing this, she gets scared and sits in the corner being scared and goes to sleep. In the morning, a nurse comes to her who was giving her medicine to eat. Now when Miranda goes to bath with all the patients, she sees the same girl who had also come in front of her car and has a knife in her hand. She starts writing something on Miranda's arm, but no one was able to see her other than Miranda. That's why she was acting like crazy. Seeing Miranda like this, everyone runs away from there. Pete comes to Miranda and asks her, "Did you remember anything?" She says no. Miranda asks him, "Do you like me? We may now be one. My husband is also dead now." Hearing this, the stomach says, "No, Miranda, you are a patient now, and I have to know about your truth and have to treat you." After this, Miranda's lawyer comes to her who tells her that the case is next week, and all the evidence is against her. That's why she can be punished, but there is only one way to escape from it. If Miranda proves herself insane, she will be saved. Hearing this, she gets angry and says, "I am not crazy, do you understand? And I didn't kill anyone." After a while, a police officer comes there who was also a good friend of Miranda's husband, and he was also investigating her case. He gets angry at her. "Why did you kill your husband?" Here, when Miranda sees the pictures of the time of murder, she was scared. She couldn't believe all this. Meanwhile, her arm starts bleeding when she opens the bandage and looks. It was written, "Not alone," on her arm. It was also written at the time when Miranda's husband was killed. After this, Miranda goes crazy and still can't remember anything. Now she sees in her dreams while sleeping at night that when she saw the girl on the bridge, who also came in front of her car, then their bodies caught fire. That girl was a ghost and made her end her husband with an axe while possessing her. Why did that girl's ghost make Miranda do this? We will find out in the further story. Peter now takes her to the head doctor where Miranda sees a picture, which was of the same girl who came in front of her car and was attacking her again and again. When Miranda asks him about her, the head doctor tells her that she is his daughter. Miranda says she came in front of his car that day. Hearing this, Peter says this isn't possible because she died 4 years ago. The head doctor also says, yes. Miranda started thinking that what is going on with her. At night, she feels someone's presence again. She gets up and calls the girl's name and says, "Are you her soul? If you are, then open the door." And suddenly the door opens. After it, Miranda goes to Pete's office where the computer had suddenly turned on. Miranda sees that Pete was getting information about the same dead girl who had come in front of her car. Then, on the other side of the screen, she sees the second ward of the hospital. Here was the soul of that dead girl. Miranda quickly runs there because Chloe's room was also there. When she reaches out of Chloe's room, she sees through the small window in the door that a man is beating her mercilessly, and there is a girl's tattoo on that man's chest that is burning in fire. Seeing this, Miranda gets scared and runs away from there. The guards had caught her. In the morning, she goes to Chloe and apologizes to her because when she was treating her, she never believed her words. That means what Chloe told at the beginning of the story, that a devil does wrong with her. She was talking about that man whom now Miranda had also seen. Miranda is also locked in the same ward. One night she sees the soul of the same girl in her cell. Seeing her, she gets scared and screams. When the guards come to check her, she gave them a trick and ran away from there. She also wanted to get out of here and know about her truth and to hide from everyone. She first goes into the deep water and stops her breath. But even in the water, she sees the soul of the girl. But because of the water, no one could hear her scream. Then she comes to the security guard's office where a guard helps her to escape. Miranda had finally come out of that hospital asylum, and now she starts going home. But on the way, she again sees the soul of that girl. So because of fear, her car starts having an accident, but she survives. While saving the car, she also broke all the barriers where it is forbidden to go. Her car was on the verge of collapsing down the ravine, but she escaped. She was badly injured. Anyway, she reaches her home where she gets light visions of the day when her husband was killed. She remembers that she had killed her husband mercilessly with an axe. After that, when she goes to her bathroom, she sees another Miranda in the bathtub. Then she gets up from the water and suddenly screams and turns into the soul of that dead girl. This meant that the girl's soul had come inside Miranda. All this was now visible to Miranda. After knowing the truth, she feels bad that her husband died because of her. She was sad to know this and starts crying by taking a picture of her husband. Then there is a slight echo in her ear. She hears a voice and someone tells her the name of a place. Hearing this, Miranda remembers the name of the place she just heard. There is some property of her husband where he used to go often. Now Miranda goes there. There was a house, and when she opens the door of the basement, she gets to see a strange sight. There was a big bed and big chains tied on it. There was a camera in front of the bed. It meant that something was wrong there. Whatever happens there is recorded in the camera. When Miranda checks that camera, she gets a recording of her husband, in which he was forcing a girl and that girl was tied with a chain on the bed. Seeing this, Miranda gets shocked. She is taken aback to learn that her husband was like this. Meanwhile, a police officer comes there and points a gun at Miranda. He came to catch her. When Miranda is behind, two hands catch Miranda from behind. Those were that girl's hands. She was still alive. And this was the same girl whom Miranda just saw in the video. Miranda's husband had kidnapped this girl here. Now this news has spread everywhere and the media also reaches that place. Here, the head officer of this whole place was the same man who was also a friend of Miranda's husband. He had still caught Miranda. Pete and Miranda's lawyer come to that officer. They say you should leave her now because now the reason has also come in front, and whatever Miranda did, she did very well. Her husband deserved this, but still, the officer was not ready to leave Miranda. The head doctor comes to Miranda, to whom Miranda tells that his daughter was the victim of her husband. She was killed. Miranda is again locked in the cell, but until now she did not understand the thing about not alone. Miranda now understands its meaning that her husband did not do this alone. In fact, there was someone else with him who used to support him. Well, Miranda tells Pete about that tattoo which she saw on the man's chest in Chloe's room. Pete was also busy investigating that tattoo. On the other side, the officer, who was also a friend of Miranda's husband, he comes to meet Miranda and says, "Look, trust me, and I also trust you. So tell me the name of the other person about whom you know." She says, "Whoever is the killer who supported my husband, a girl's tattoo must have been made on his chest, which is burning in the fire." She tells everything to that officer. How much will that man be in stature? Hearing this, the officer gets a little worried and started sweating. Miranda was also a psychologist doctor, so she notices that the color of that officer's face has faded. After telling everything, Miranda finds out whatever she said. Everything is similar to this officer. That's why she starts running away from here, but the officer had caught her. Then Miranda gets a chance and pulls the officer's shirt. This officer was the one doing wrong with Chloe that night, according to the tattoo on his chest. Her husband's friend, who also supported her husband in bad deeds. She pushes the officer and runs away. The officer was also shooting at Miranda from behind, but by mistake, the bullet hits a gas pipe from where the gas started flowing out. The cop was hunting for Miranda and adding, "You know how your husband and I used to catch such girls and do wrong? So come in front of me quickly, then I will tell you. We also killed the head doctor's daughter. That's why he sees the same shadow behind him, and when he fires a bullet at it, he sees a girl standing in front of the mirror who was the head's daughter, and the same who had come in front of Miranda's car. When that cop shoots a bullet at her, the mirror is shattered, but the girl is unharmed because she was a soul. When the police fired another bullet at her, the fire began as a result of the gas spreading, in which the officer burns. When Miranda also fired a round and killed him, Pete stood by and watched everything. Now he believes whatever Miranda said was true. Pete comes and apologizes to Miranda. Now after a year of punishment, Miranda was released. Chloe and Miranda both come out of the asylum. Chloe thanks Miranda that because of her, she is alive today. Miranda was driving when she noticed a boy through which the vehicle was passing. Here we come to know that child was also a soul. Miranda could also see wandering souls.